NASCAR Cup Series qualifying just wrapped up where Alex Bowman won the pole. Oh, yeah, Alex Bowman won the pole. Yes, tomorrow is the cutoff race for the round of 16 in the NASCAR Cup Series playoffs. And Alex Bowman, who's well above the cutoff line, is on pole. But we're not here to talk about that. We'll talk about the Bristol night race tomorrow. We got the Xfinity Series race coming up here in an hour and a half, so I got to make this somewhat quick. But big news hit the NASCAR news just a couple of hours ago that Geico, one of the premier partners in the Cup Series, would be leaving at the end of 2024. Here's what this report by Adam Stern says. Geico will end its premier partnership with NASCAR after this season, marking the first time the racing circuit will lose one of the top-tier sponsors from the system it started in 2020. The Berkshire Hathaway-controlled insurer has been involved in the sport since at least 2009, and it became the official insurance of NASCAR in 2019 before stepping up to the premier partner level in 2020. That year, NASCAR began using an IOC or NCAA-like sponsor for its NASCAR Cup Series instead of the single title sponsor model it had employed since 1971. So yes, for those of you who are not aware or are not too familiar, I guess, with it, NASCAR for the longest time had a single name sponsor. Right now, we know it as the NASCAR Cup Series. It's the NASCAR Cup Series, but every time you see the logo on a racetrack on the infield, you'll see four major partners with it. You'll see Busch Beer, Coca-Cola, Xfinity, and Geico. Those are the four premier sponsors of the Cup Series. Well, it used to be, before this current deal, it used to be a single sponsor, and it would be in the name of the Cup Series. So from, I think it was 2017 to 2019, we had the Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series. From 2009, 2008, we had the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series. And then before that, we had the NASCAR Nextel Cup Series. And before that, the most known, I would say, was the NASCAR Winston Cup Series. So NASCAR moved away from the single title, decided to just call it the NASCAR Cup Series, have its own branding, but you have a premier partnership level with 4 and even potentially 5 or more companies that would essentially pay to be one of the premier partners. And if you look at each of these individual sponsors, they have their own kind of different parts about them across NASCAR. Obviously, it was the premier insurance. There was the official insurance of NASCAR. Coca-Cola is the official soft drink of NASCAR. But outside of that, you got the Coca-Cola 600. You got the Coke Zero 400. Everything at a racetrack you go to, it's Coca-Cola products. So that includes Coca-Cola, Sprite, Diet Coke, Dasani water bottles, Powerade. It's all Coca-Cola products. And then you look at Geico. Geico had the Geico Restart Zone. Obviously, they sponsored the spring race at Talladega, the Geico 500. And back when Germain Racing was a thing, they sponsored them, but that was before the whole premier partnership thing. Then you look at Busch Beer. Busch Beer obviously sponsors Ross Chastain, but they also have some, they have like a deck at Texas Motor Speedway, a Restart Zone deck that's sponsored by Busch Beer. They have a deck at Talladega, the Busch Beer deck. There might be some more across other racetracks I haven't been to, but they're also very involved. And then Xfinity, obviously, is the sponsor of the Xfinity Series. I think they provide internet, if I had to guess, at some of these racetracks, but we got more to read about some of this stuff. The current spend of Geico is unclear, but the company was paying NASCAR low 7 figures annually for the official insurance category rights in 2019, so its costs are likely at least at that level now. The company also formerly had a full season team deal with Germain Racing. I just mentioned that. We can skip on. Since then, the company has gone through several major changes in its marketing department, including bringing on Damon Burrell as CMO and making changes with the external agencies it uses. NASCAR confirmed Geico's decision to end the premier partnership after the season, telling Sports Business Journal in a statement, "The partnership between NASCAR and Geico has demonstrated the immense value and weekly excitement that two consumer-driven brands can create, and we are proud of the extraordinary brand value, exposure, and growth opportunities we built together." And then it goes on to say it is unknown, it's unclear if Geico will continue to do things like fund commercials during the races, the Geico restart zone, sponsor the spring race at Talladega, some of those things I just mentioned. So the possibility of a different restart zone is possible. The possibility of, I just very repeated myself there. But what could the restart zone be in the future? We gotta do like Gorilla Glue or something, because all the crashes happen after restarts, like Gorilla Glue restart zone. I don't know. But I'm curious to what's going to sponsor that. I'm curious to if Geico leaves altogether, what's going to be the restart zone? What's going to be the spring Talladega race? So they're going to go back to the Alabama 500? Are they going to go back to the Aaron's 499? What are they going to do with that spring Talladega race? And then obviously the biggest question, those are some of the more fun answers, more fun, the visual things you see on TV. But financially, who's going to step up? Who's going to be that new premier partner? There was nothing listed in this article. It talks a little bit about Xfinity. Xfinity, they are evaluating their deal with NASCAR. It looks like they still want to stick around on the premier partnership side. They're not too sure on the sponsoring of the secondary series, the Xfinity series. That could be a short-term deal. So there's a lot of questions, but then, as I said, the biggest one is who replaces Geico. It says back at the beginning of this whole process, back in 2019, that they were seeking $15 to $20 million for a premier partner. So obviously, if a premier partner steps up, they're going to have a lot of money. They were actually looking for a fifth premier partner before this news came about. So before they can get a fifth, they have to get a fourth. So I'm curious to who it's going to be. I have no guesses. If maybe they go for another insurance company. You see Liberty Mutual ads all the time during NASCAR races. Maybe there's something there. Maybe I'm overthinking that, but maybe Liberty Mutual. Maybe Farmers Insurance comes back into the NASCAR world. I don't know. Maybe they do a brand that isn't one of the majors. That's not a beer, a soda, or what's Xfinity? An internet TV provider. So very curious to see what that next premier partner is. But Geico, who's been around NASCAR as long as I've been watching, will be leaving at the end of 2024, and it is unknown what their capacity is going to be in terms of everything else outside of that premier partnership. So big news in the NASCAR world. We got the Xfinity race coming up. Hope you enjoyed this video. I'll do my normal Shane Van Gisbergen recap. We got the season finale, or regular season finale, for the Xfinity series.